All right, so thank you everybody for joining us. Appreciate you joining us and spending some time in this rainy, gloomy looking day. It's really a nice day just to sit and watch a movie or read a book. But we appreciate you being here with us. And myself, I'll start with the introduction. I'll start with introducing myself first. My name is Fatma, and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Real Estate Associates. I am really passionate about working in real estate because I've always loved real estate. And when I came to Canada about 20 years ago, the first thing that I wanted to do was to get my own place. I wanted to buy my own home. And within 3 years, I managed to do that. I was so focused. I made sure that, and I was lucky that I talked to the right people. So I'm very passionate about helping others with their real estate goals. What I look at myself is as a problem solver because I try to find a solution for my clients. If one thing doesn't work, let's try something else because I really believe in what I'm doing and empowering people in accomplishing their real estate goals. I also want to introduce Rachel and Neil. Rachel is here with us on this call. Rachel and Neil are the founders of Clover Properties, and they've been helping hundreds of families get into home ownership through their rent-to-own program. I came to know about the rent-to-own program many years back, 10 years ago, around the same time that they started this program. I was so excited about it because I had just bought my place and I thought, oh my goodness, I can help other people get into home ownership, especially people in my community. I'd like to help them. And I was thinking in terms of being that investor that would help somebody else get into a home ownership program. But within a short period of time, being a first-time home buyer, just moving into my own condo at that time, it really wasn't the right time for me to think about that, or I didn't have the resources that would mean to put something together like that. So I kept it aside. That intention stayed in the bookshelf with my books that I had purchased to go through this to learn about the rent to own. However, fast forward 10 years later, through my brokerage, I got to meet Rachel and Neil, and I was so excited because finally I felt like my intention of 10 years back had come back to me, that I'd be able to provide solutions for my clients now. Because anytime somebody asked me about the rent-to-own program, I'd say, I know about it, but I don't know who can help you, because you have to work with somebody who has integrity, because some people end up, being taken advantage with that. So when I met Rachel, and through the values and integrity that they have helped nearly 350 families in the last 10 years. And I was like set. I knew this is what I wanted to do. Again, provide a solution for those clients that cannot go the conventional way to purchase a home. Now I can give them a solution and to look into something else that can be of benefit for them and get them into home ownership. So let's talk about the real estate market and what happened when COVID-19 came into our lives. Before COVID-19, the spring market looked like it was going to be a really strong one. We were set for record-breaking prices, as you will see in my next slide. And it was just looking to be a really strong spring market. And then COVID happened. Life changed for everybody. The way we do our business, our homes became our offices, our daycare centers, our schools, and everything changed around how we work even with each other. So what happened when we started in March of 2020, that's when we started really seeing what's going on with COVID. So what I want to do is look at the two periods in March, and I call them pre-COVID and post-COVID, because the market was kind of divided right into two, because on the weekend, I believe, of March 15th, the Premier announced social distancing measures that were to be put in place. So right away, that had an impact because people were now had to step back. This new thing that has attacked us, this invisible enemy that we have, people took a step back. So let's see what happened in March, and then we'll go through and see what happened in April. Okay, so pre-COVID, we're looking at March 1st to 14th and 15th to the 31st for both 2019 and 2020. And you can see that the first half of the month, as I said, looked really strong. We had sales increase by 48.6%. Very strong market. However, once social distancing was implemented for the health and safety of everybody, people took a step back, tried to stay home, tried to stay safe. We saw a decline in the sales activity at that point by 15.9%. At this time, myself, in the second half, I did have a listing that was on the market. From my own experience at that time, I realized that we had less showings than we would have anticipated. But what happened was that the quality buyers were the ones that were coming, people that were really interested in purchasing a home. And I actually ended up getting multiple offers on that property, and it sold within about 7 days' time. We were sold. So it's really, it was a different time, but at that time, my experience was, despite people coming in with their gloves and their masks, people taking turns to come into the homes, but they were serious buyers out there that wanted to purchase homes at that time. So let's look at the average prices. So we're seeing that year over year, the first half of the month of March compared to the previous year, we saw that there was an increase in price by 16.8%. You can see the prices at the first half of the month in 2019, 797. And look at the second half, the first half of 2020, 931. So that's really a strong market. Then what happened in the second half? There was still an increase of the in prices by 10.5%. So the prices were still higher than the previous year, although it was not at 16.8%, but 10%. So still increase in prices, but not as crazy as it was the first half. So what happened in April? Because that's when we now have a full month of social distancing, the economy being, the government trying to, boost the economy and make sure that everybody's okay, introducing the CRB and all those measures that were being taken. So what happened in April? So this is what happened in April. The prices, according to the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, for the GTA went down from between March and April by 12%, almost 12%, 11.8. So the purple line here is the prices in 2020. So as I said, it looked like it was going to be a really strong market. Look at the prices in January, look at the prices in February. And then March, COVID happened, there was a slight adjustment in price. So what does this mean? So you're seeing this is the last 4 years. I always monitor the prices, making sure I know exactly what's going on. And I usually drop off the last years just so I can have the 4 years, the 4 years of information here. That way it kind of gives you a trend. You can see the green line is 2019. So the blue line is 2017. 2017 was crazy. We all know that. That's when people were buying homes, multiple offers, over asking price. 200,000 over asking price in some cases. It was crazy. But then in April, the Easter holiday actually weekend, I still remember measures were implemented by the government, and we now see that blue line going down right away after the implementation of those government policies. So now come to April of 2020, we are seeing that we were actually past those prices at that time of 2017, but then we now went down from March. The prices went down in April by almost 12%. But here's the interesting thing that I need you to look at. The price is actually where 2019 was. So did the prices come down? Yes. Did we lose much value from the properties? Probably not, because we are exactly where we were in 2019. In fact, the prices went up by 0.01%, as you can see. It's just a slight increase there. So that's what happened. But however, the prices did come down from March, just in a month time. Seasonal adjustments usually at this time, we are used to having that graph going up, but this time it was different because of COVID-19. So we will continue looking at this and seeing how May numbers are going to be, because I'm really interested to see how we're going to fare in the next month after another month of COVID-19. However, it's important to look at what's going on in your neighborhood. I know that most of us depend on the news in the media, and we all know that the media loves to sensationalize everything. The sky is always falling, according to the media. So that's why it's really important to talk to the right realtor who knows the numbers, who knows what's happening. And in my opinion, the real estate market is local. You need to know what's going on in your neighborhood. You need to know what's going on generally. However, how does that affect you as an individual? And that's when you need to go into the local market. So I broke this down into different cities, and just to kind of have an idea. So according to the numbers, generally almost 12% decrease between March and April. However, let's see what happened individually in different cities. So we are seeing that prices in Mississauga between the 2 months went down 3%, in Brampton 6%, Milton 12.5%, more than what the general GTA market is experienced in this case. Ajax 6.8 and Oshawa 8.6. So what does this mean to you as a buyer? What does this mean to you as a seller? So if you are a seller, it's really important to know what's going on in your particular neighborhood. As you can see, Mississauga just got a scratch, 3%. That was the decline. Look at Milton, 12.5%. So if a seller, for example, you're looking to buy, to sell and buy, it's important to get the right information and see how do you imply that information to your situation. How does this help you make the right decision for yourself? Say, for example, if you're selling, you're living in Mississauga, and this is just an example. You live in Mississauga, you have to sell, and this is for somebody who has to sell, right? You have to sell. How about going into a market where the prices have gone down even further? That means you're that much ahead, right? So if you sell, let's say in Mississauga, and buy in Milton, you're still coming up ahead, right? So it's really important to understand the market, understand the numbers, and then see how do I implement this information to my situation? How does this help me? If you are selling, remember, it's all relevant. If you buy high, you're selling high. You sell high, you buy high. If you sell low, you're also going to be buying in the same market. It's all relevant. As a buyer, what does this mean to you? Again, you're looking at what information is happening. Let me know, for example, me or any agent, if you're working with another realtor, I'll be happy to provide that information for you as well. Let's talk about what property you're looking for. What area are you looking for? Then we can dig deep further and break these numbers even further so that they can really make more sense to you, and you'll be able to make the right decision for yourself and your family and take advantage of the situation. What you need to realize right now is many people have taken a step back and stayed on the sidelines because they want to know what's going on. We're going to wait and see what's happening. However, if there's an opportunity, if you are well informed, that's when you can take the opportunity. And getting informed means talking to the right people, knowing your options, so that when you're ready and the opportunity comes, you are the first one out of the gates. Because if you don't do that, you'll be like everybody else. And what happens when we follow the crowd? The prices will start going up, and you'll be like, oh, I missed the chance. I should have done this at this time. However, if you are getting the information from the right person and making the right decision, you will find that you will come out stronger and ahead of the majority of people that are sitting and waiting on the sidelines. So what's happened during COVID-19? How has it affected the buyers and the sellers? There is concerns, and there's really valid concerns out there. People are worried about their employment. People are worried about being laid off, having reduced hours, and maybe some people have even had to dip into their savings just so that they can keep paying their bills, right? So it's really a situation that is not easy for everybody. We're all in this situation, and it does impact people's lives and people's goals. However, that's why you're on this call, to get the information and to get to know the options that you have, so that should you maybe think it's not the time, I shouldn't do anything with my goals, I should wait and stay on the sidelines like everybody else, hopefully that this opportunity provides you with information that would be able to make you take that extra step that's going to be the best for yourself and your family. So the sellers, again, they're thinking that, or maybe I don't want to sell because my home is going to fetch me less than what it is worth. Again, information is power. You've seen what's happened in the market. You've seen the graphs. We are where 2019 was. Is it going to remain there? Probably not, right? But again, it's good to know what's going on so that you know that the sky is not falling, but this is what the facts of the matter is. So there are people that maybe they still have to sell because the situation has changed. So getting that information, as I said, is very vital at this point. So what is interesting is that amidst the pandemic, there are still very highly motivated buyers and sellers out there. I will tell you that I had a client showed a property yesterday on day one. It had just hit the market, and we are right now at this moment in a multiple offer situation. The last time I checked, there's been 4 offers registered. This house was just on the market yesterday, right? So there are people out there that are really motivated and they're looking. And even during the numbers in April, there was 2,975 transactions that happened. So that means people are motivated. People that are motivated to buy, they're out there looking. My example, and I'm sure Rachel might have a few examples herself of multiple offer situations. I know I've talked to other agents and mortgage brokers that have similar stories, that they're seeing the market picking up. They're seeing multiple offers situations happening as well. So it means that people are starting to feel maybe a little bit comfortable going out, wearing masks, and actually going into homes and purchasing homes and putting offers in homes. There's people that have already sold. Maybe they sold in January and now are looking to buy. So those are still serious buyers that have to purchase homes. There's people that need to purchase because they're relocating, they're going through a divorce. Maybe they need to find the right house, downsize quickly. I have a client right now looking to purchase a home because they have to relocate to London, Ontario. So again, people are actively looking to purchase homes right now. And we're actually seeing a gradual increase, gradual reopening of the economy. That means eventually people will be going back into their homes, and hopefully they're going to be feeling more comfortable, more confident as consumers. And you know that when consumer confidence goes up, then we're going to start seeing people coming out to purchase homes and going into homes and looking into the real estate goals. So right now we have a pent-up demand that is increasing, even on the sidelines. However, with the low interest rates, we are going to be expecting people to start acting sooner than later, especially with the low borrowing costs that we are seeing. Okay, so the Toronto Real Estate Board actually had a webinar yesterday and shared information with us. And this is something that I took from the Chief Market Analyst, Jason Mercer. And he's saying that the housing market recovery will likely accelerate as we move into the fall and winter months, providing that we do not see a substantial resurgence of COVID cases. So COVID really right now is going to determine how our market is going to react in the next months. However, if you are interested to know what happened in March, I'll be happy to provide you those numbers. As you know, I am keeping these numbers at my fingertips because I'm interested in knowing what's happening and informing my clients. So, however, many people, many experts are anticipating that there is a short window of opportunity, especially if somebody is looking to get into the market in the next few months. Okay, so it's good. It's going to be very important to keep in touch with me so that you're able to know what's going on during this time and know when an opportunity comes up that you'll be ready to jump to it. So I've had that real estate numbers, values double every 10 years. So I thought, you know what, let me look at these numbers and share that with you. And lo and behold, it's absolutely true. This is 46 years of history right here in front of you. And you can see 1974 average prices being 52,000, jumping to 100,000 in 1984. 1994, 200,000, 2004, 315, 2014, 566. So 2024, we are probably looking at hitting an average of $1 million. And if you can see from what the numbers are right now in 2019 at 819, we've got a couple of more years to go. And I believe you would agree with me that this is where we're heading. Maybe we'll get a little glitch in this because of COVID-19, thanks to COVID-19 right now for those that want to get into the market. However, likely because of the low interest and especially with the demand that we are seeing, we're going to be picking right up after that, consumer confidence going up, and we are likely going to be on our way to be having an average of $1 million. So I thought this would be interesting for me to share. So if somebody's thinking of buying, there is no bad time to get into your your right home, right? As a quote says, it's the best time to buy real estate was yesterday. The next best time is today, and the worst time is tomorrow. And as you can see, I think you would agree with me for that. So the most important thing for those that are out there to buy is to decide to buy. A home is one of the largest financial investment that one could have. And for many people, it becomes an accidental investment because most of the times we just want to get to buy our home so that we don't have to be told what to do in the home, how to decorate our home, what not to do, how to paint our home. We just want that freedom, that pride of ownership, right? But however, what happens with having this home, now you have leverage, you have the power of leverage, and that comes from the equity that you build over the years. And what do you do with that equity? You could either rent out use that equity to buy a bigger home, or you could rent out the property. You could buy a property that you could rent out. What I did in my situation, after living in my condo for 10 years, I did the second option. I moved into a bigger home for my family, and I rented out my condo. And I remember, as I said, I've always been passionate about real estate, but at that time I was like, wow. Honestly, I didn't think that I'd be a landlord, but when that happened, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. We are getting into building our portfolio. And so that means I'm sharing this story with you just so you can see how easily it could happen, with just a matter of time, that something like this could happen, and you could come from owning your first home into now getting a second home, or getting into an investment property. The possibilities are there. So here's the difference between buying your own home or renting. So if you're paying rent, you're building somebody else's wealth. And if you're paying your mortgage, you are building your own wealth. So in real estate, time is your best friend, because with time, you are paying down your mortgage. And if you are renting at this time, you're paying down your landlord's mortgage. So what happens with time in your home? How the home value goes up. I shared with you the prices for the last 46 years, and I believe you would agree with me that the prices do go up, right? What else goes up when you're renting? Your rent. It goes up. While you live in the home, maybe you've improved your home with the home, you're doing some landscaping just because you love doing landscaping. So you do that for your own benefit, but really at the end of the day, it is for the landlord's benefit, because that just increased the value of their home. So when you look at what's happening with if let's say you're paying this home, it's your own home, you've got your mortgage paid down, you've got the home value going up, so you have that equity, as I mentioned, that you can take advantage and buy another home for yourself, or an investment property. But if you're paying rent, your landlord has three things going for them. You're paying down your landlord's mortgage, the home values are going up, so the landlord has equity. And the other thing is the landlord has cash flow. Every year the net rent goes up, the mortgage goes down. The difference between the rent that you're paying and the mortgage payment that the landlord has to make is a cash flow. And that cash flow is what now the landlord could do whatever it is that they want, go on vacation or whatever, buy another property, whatever it is, it's theirs to decide how to use it. But you're the one who's facilitating that by paying that rent. So of course, sometimes you don't have a choice, but you're here on this call to see what options that you have, so that if you are in that situation and you have the desire to move into your own home, you are here to explore the options that you have, that you could be able to take advantage and get into your own home and stop paying your landlord's mortgage. So here's an example of a rent. Average rents are at $2,600. So if you are living in a house paying $2,600 in rent, in a year's time you pay $31,200, and I'm sure you have seen that number, $93,600 in 3 years. That's a lot of money that's going into somebody else's mortgage. So if we can help with that, having that number going into what's something of your own, we would be very happy to be able to do that for you. So here's an example of a home that in Orangeville, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, $527,500 was the asking price. So I'm giving you the minimum numbers here. Of course, if you are able to put in a more higher deposit than that, absolutely good for you. But if this is the minimum that you can do, this is what the numbers would look like. And I want you to pay attention to the numbers, the total numbers that I have there, and the monthly number that we're going to go through. So the minimum deposit you require is 27,750, 5% for the first 500, and 10% for anything above 500 to just less than $1 million. So the other thing that you have to consider as well is the closing cost, which comes to about roughly 1.5% of the asking price. So in total, remember that number, 35,600 is what you would need minimum to get into your home. The monthly payment that you would be looking at paying your mortgage, plus your taxes, plus insurance for your home is going to be about 2,827. So keep that number in mind, just because we are going to go through more numbers with Rachel as well, so you can see the differences or similarities of these numbers. Okay, so this is another home that is in Brantford, 3+3 2-bathrooms homes listed, 544,900, a detached home. Again, minimum deposit you would need is 37,660, and your total monthly cost would be 2,941. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea of the monthly cost that you're looking for, and I'm sure some of you can relate. If you are paying rent, these numbers are not too far off. And I have actually an example of a townhouse that was leased out in April 26th, just last month, in Brampton, 2,600. So this is the 2,600 in 3 years. This person would have paid 93,000, and that is if that rent doesn't go up slightly next month, and then the next year and the next year, because the landlord does have an opportunity to increase their rents as well. So this is one of the examples that I have, and this is another one. Again, last month, leased for 2,950. 3 years time, that's 106,000 that this person has paid towards their landlord's mortgage. So this is important to know these numbers so that you're able to see what's out there, what options that we can have for you, so that you don't have to pay these numbers towards somebody else's mortgage, but actually building an opportunity for yourself to get into your own home. And I believe with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. We will be taking questions at the end, but right now I'd like to introduce, to have Rachel, I've introduced Rachel, turn over to Rachel so that she'd be able to go ahead and share her really awesome information that she's prepared for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fatma. And I'm going to talk really quickly because I do want to respect everyone's time, and I want to be able to take everyone's questions. So here's what I'm going to cover with you guys today. There's a lot of mortgage madness. So all of the things that Fatma discussed in the background, there's a need to be able to qualify for a mortgage to get into the home ownership game, and you need to understand some of the madness around it. And then obviously not everyone is going to fit the perfect little square box that the banks have created. So there is an assisted purchase program that we have created to help home buyers rent to own their way to home ownership. So I'll talk to you about how that works. And really this represents a huge opportunity. Opportunity is knocking, like Fatma says, the window of opportunity is closing in. So we want you to be aware of that. I'll talk a little bit about how the monthly payments would work if you were to take advantage of the assisted purchase program. And then of course, hopefully you'll stick around for some Q&A. All right, so there's a lot of people who have been saving up for a down payment, but with COVID, obviously, their savings might be depleted. And on top of that, there could be student loans, business loans, car loans. I mean, the amount of loans that people are taking on are slowing down their ability to be able to qualify for a mortgage. For some people, it's more about owning credit cards. Did you know that you need to have 2 credit cards, like a Visa and a MasterCard, for 2 years? With at least $2,000 minimum or maximum balance. I mean, a lot of people like to use cash they're new to the country. So some people are working on establishing their credit. And of course, other people are waiting to get their permanent residency. If they've come to Canada in the last year or two, there's still paperwork outstanding. And you know what? You don't have to wait. We don't know when all the government offices are going to be at full capacity in terms of issuing all of these permanent residency things. So you don't have to wait. You could actually start the process of getting into homeownership through our assisted purchase program. And of course, if you are self-employed, if you're in business for yourself, and you've been doing it for less than 2 years, you're going to struggle qualifying for a mortgage, especially if you have less than 10% saved up. And that's where our assisted purchase program can help you. And then who isn't worried about affordability? You know, with what's happening with COVID, interest rates went down a little bit, and ultimately that is creating a surge in demand. And when we have demand in certain areas, we're seeing prices going up, and we're still seeing sold over asking in many markets. As Fatma said, there's still multiple offers and people are bidding those properties up. And I'm actually going to give you an example of what that looks like. The reality is hundreds of Canadians have been turned down for mortgages prior to COVID. Going into COVID, we're going to see the number of people getting declined for a mortgage go even higher, because we have people who have been in mortgages and they're going to be delinquent. That's going to tarnish their credit. They won't be able to renew. They're going to have to downsize. They're going to have to sell. We're going to see a lot of divorced people. Divorced people always have some sort of credit blemishes. They're probably going to struggle. And why go back into renting? There's other opportunities. There's going to be also insolvencies. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to add to that tray of refused files. And really that's because at the heart of it, the lenders are still going to be maintaining certain criteria in order to give out mortgages. In fact, their criteria is going to probably get even a little bit more strict. Right now, lenders such as banks are accepting a 5% down payment if you have perfect credit. Perfect credit is about 600 or 680 or better. And if you're not sure what your credit is, go to TransUnion, go to Equifax, pull your credit reports. You're able to do that online free of charge if you're pulling your own credit report. You need to know what your credit report looks like. The reality is the lenders are now thinking about changing the minimum requirement of the down payment to 10%. Right now it's 5%. But it can go up to 10%. So if 5% is if you're close to that, now would be the time to act, because when it goes to 10%, it's going to push you out even further, even if your credit score is almost where it needs to be. Now, I am the author of a book called Rent to Own Essential Guide for Homebuyers. We have been doing this for 10 years, and we wrote this book about 5 years ago to educate homebuyers on a step-by-step process to getting into homeownership when the banks say no. You're more than welcome to check it out. It's available on Amazon.ca, so you can pay Canadian, and you can get it in paperback, or you can get it in an ebook format. But the point is that I wanted to let you know that you don't have to take no for an answer. If home ownership is something that's really important to you, that mortgage madness should not hold you back. You can take advantage of the assisted purchase program. And this is for buyers who have limited down payment and imperfect credit, or a combination of the two. Our program allows you as a home buyer to go house hunting to pick a property that you will own. So you will work with a real estate agent the same way you would in any other scenario, and you get to go looking at properties. You'll probably check them out online first. You don't want to be looking, you don't want to be putting on masks and gloves and going to everything, but you can start looking at properties online, and if you see something you like, we can run the numbers. We can tell you what the monthly payments will be, and then you can go check it out. Most home buyers who go through our assisted purchase program complete the process within 36 months, and they own that property because they're able to qualify for a mortgage. But the best part is that they can build up equity. Through our program, you will end up not just with better credit and a bigger down payment, you'll probably have equity in that property, which will fast track you further forward faster. Now, I want to give you an idea. I'm not talking about renting to own properties that are in the millions. We're not talking about properties that are even in the 700,000 range. I'm talking about entry-level starter homes. You have to wedge your foot in the door, and this is the ripe opportunity right now. So we're talking properties in the $350,000 price point to, I would say, maybe 520. You want to probably stay in that window for entry level. And I'll explain why. But you're probably thinking, Rachel, where the heck am I going to find properties for 350? Well, they still exist. Ottawa is a very, very ripe market for $350,000 properties, but not everybody wants an Ottawa-based property. You can still get condos in other parts of, if you move further out, I'm not talking downtown Toronto, if you're prepared to move further out, there are a lot of communities and there's a lot of real estate agents who can help you with this, but price should not hold you back, but you have to be flexible because prices are probably not going to come down. We've seen time and time again, Fatma showed those slides, and we've seen over the last 50 years, real estate values tend to climb. And here's a perfect example of what I mean. So this happened 2 weeks ago during COVID, where one of our home buyers wanted to get this property through our assisted purchase program. And it's a condo town listed for $399,900. And it obviously has an updated kitchen. It's very bright, spacious, upstairs laundry, finished basement, lovely backyard with nobody backing onto them. It's a perfect starter condo town. And we put in an offer over asking because we heard that there's going to be other offers. We heard that there's going to be multiple offers. So we put in an offer for $415,000. So we went $15,000 over asking to help these home buyers go through our assisted purchase program. Well, guess what? There were 17 offers registered on this property and it sold for $475,000. $75,000 over asking. That is during COVID. And that's just reflective of where the market is at when it comes to this entry level price point. It's a very short corridor. It's a very narrow corridor. And if you are looking to get into home ownership, that is where you want to be because that's the price point where real estate values will continue to climb during COVID and beyond COVID. It's really important. Price matters. So I'm going to walk you through very quickly what the process is in our assisted purchase program. And I'll use an example of a $350,000 price point. And this is all relative to higher price points, of course. So anywhere from $350,000 to about $520,000, this is a perfect, this is how it'll play out. So say the property is listed for $350,000 and you have savings of about $15,000. It's not enough for you to qualify for a mortgage with a bank, and you don't have any more than $15,000 because you'll need closing costs and such. So you can go into our program, and it'll be a 36-month process. During those 36 months, you're going to be building up your credit situation, and you're going to be building up that $15,000. So how do we do that? Each month you're making a payment. That payment consists of your rent. So what is the rent that you would be normally paying on that property? But on top of that, we need to build up your $15,000. So each month you're going to be putting money back in your pocket. And in this example, $531 goes back into your pocket to build up your down payment. So fast forward 36 months later, you have $34,116 saved up towards your down payment on this property. And you are buying this property not at the aggressive appreciation rate of the market. You're buying it probably quite below market value. And this is where you build up equity. So in essence, you're buying this property for $399,408 at the end of the process. So it's basically, if you were to rent, you probably would not have access to that price point because you'd have to enter the market and it's going to be a bit of a crapshoot. But when you go through our program, that price is locked in at the beginning. From day one, you know exactly what you're going to be buying that property for, and we're working towards getting you qualified for a mortgage on that future price. We have helped, I know Fatma said 350, but Fatma, during COVID, we've actually increased those numbers quite a bit. 370 home buyers have already gone through our program, and we have helped them become homeowners. And I love to share Danny's and Nadia's story because they're just a perfect example of a couple that wasn't able to qualify for a mortgage in 2016, and they went through our program, and it really opened up so much opportunity for them. So Nadia was, she went through nursing school, and she was carrying some student debt from taking nursing training. And Danny came in from Poland, and he is by trade, he fixes elevators, but he didn't have any job history here in Ontario. So he needed some time to establish his job history and, of course, some credit history. So combined, they pooled their funds together because they couldn't qualify for a mortgage, and they decided that they're going to go through the assisted purchase program. And the reason they did that was because at the time they were paying a lot of money in rent, and they really didn't want to keep paying rent. Now, fast forward 3 years, today on average we're seeing rents at about $28.50 on an average 2-bedroom condo in the Toronto market, and that's pretty representative of what's happening across all of Ontario. And they just didn't want to be spending 6 figures paying somebody else. So I mean, if you're paying rent for about $28.30 a month, it's $103,000 over 3 years. So if you're renting right now, take a couple of moments to do the math. How much are you spending on rent? Multiply that by 12 and multiply that number by 3. And that'll give you an idea of how much money you're going to spend on rent in the next 3 years if you do nothing to try to get into home ownership. So let's go back to Danny and Nadia. So they really fell in love with this 2-bedroom condo in Little Portugal, which is an area of Toronto. It's, you know, it has a balcony, it has 2 bathrooms and an updated kitchen, very bright, but, you know, but tiny, but a great starter home for the 2 of them. They didn't have children at the time. And here's what we did. In 2016, they went through our assisted purchase program, and they were buying this property for $349,000 through our program. Now, when they exit the program, they're essentially buying that property for a predetermined purchase price. But market value is doing its own thing. And at the time, the market value of this property was $523,000. So in 2016, the property was bought for $349,000. Fast forward in 2019, that property is on the market for $523,000, fair market. And this is a true story. But they're not paying $523,000 because remember, they locked in 3 years ago, and we locked them in at $429,990. So they're buying this property well below market value. And guess what? That represents a $93,000 equity play. That's how much money they get to keep at the end of this process once they take ownership of the property. So let's do a quick recap. They accumulated a down payment of $35,000. Remember, they came in with their own $15K, and then through the monthly payments, they pretty much more than doubled what they came in with. And they built up equity, which is about $93,000. So they were ahead by $128,000 just in 3 years. And that afforded them a lovely springboard to sell this condo and move out a little bit further out of the city and buy something bigger. And now they started a family. So this is the kind of opportunity that is sitting there for you. So if you're going to be renting, the reality is time is money, especially if you want to get your foot in the door. Now, I just heard about this this news yesterday, and it was released by CMHC, Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation. They're basically predicting that there's going to be a little bit of a decline. They're projecting a decline in real estate values. But I want to draw your attention to the fact that the big part of the decline is going to be affecting the higher cost of real estate. When we're helping home buyers get into a home, we're helping them get into an entry-level price point. So you'll see that the biggest dip is really below 520, and that's where we really recommend, if you're going to be looking to getting into this type of a property, go below 540 if you can get in there. And those prices are going to be going away very, very soon. And the reason I suggest going for something 540 or less is because the 540 price point is not going to be drastically affected by the ups and downs that the CMHC is predicting. Now think about it. If you buy in 2020 for about 540, the price will probably kind of dip a little bit, but most likely will stay around the 540 mark the following year. And if you're not selling, then it doesn't really matter, right? Unless you're selling, that dip really matters. But here's what happens. Fast forward to 2022, that same price has now gone up to 570. So it's swinging up whether you like it or not. And it's a very short window. So if you're buying in 2020 and selling in 2022, you're actually making a profit despite all of the stuff that we're hearing with COVID. And to play it safe, you want to stay in the lower price point. So most people, when they're buying obviously to hold that property for a longer amount of time. So you want to hold it for as long as you possibly can and make it your own and add value to it. And even landscaping. Fatima was talking about adding landscaping. Well, when you add landscaping to a rental property, you gain nothing. When you're adding landscaping to a home that you are renting to own through our assisted purchase program, you could actually add 2 or 3% of equity to that property. And that value stays with you when you complete the process and take ownership of that property. So instead of just renting and throwing your money out the window, you're actually putting money back in your pocket in so many ways. So whatever you can use the saying in terms of the dips, you have to take it, you have to take it in stride. You have to look at the price points that they're referring to, and you have to match it against your personal affordability. Not everyone is going to be buying $600,000 and $800,000 properties, but at the same point, properties in the 540 or lower price point are going to be further out. So you have to be open to working more remotely, and I think a lot of employers are allowing for that. So you have to think about where the opportunity is, because what goes down is going to swing back up. And my recommendation is properties 520 or less are definitely safer, especially during this time. So start looking around, see what's out there. So back to what Fatma was talking about, that Orangeville property. Now that property is listed for $527,000, I believe. And I want to show you what the monthly payments would look like if you were to go through our assisted purchase program. How do those monthly payments compare on this property to if you were to get a mortgage? If you were to go to the bank and you could qualify with a mortgage, great. What are the payments going to look like if you couldn't, though? And the reality is we would be putting $576 back in your pocket every month if you needed to rent to own this property. Here's how the numbers play out. So with 5% down, you would need about $26,375. That's across the board. So if you have excellent credit, you have $26,375, go to the bank, and that's your best bet of getting into home ownership. Now, on the other side, if you have average or no credit, 5% down will work for the assisted purchase program. Now let's compare the monthly payments. Now Fatma already demonstrated how the numbers with the bank add up to $2,834. So I'm not going to go through that side of it, but I want to draw your attention to the assisted purchase program. In the assisted purchase program, your monthly payments would be $3,192. Now, it's not far off of $2,834. However, when you break down the numbers and look at what's actually happening, $576 of that amount is actually going back in your pocket. This is that forced down payment savings. So if you're coming in with $26,375, each month you're going to be adding $576 to it. So over 3 years, you're going to add another $27,648. So you'll have a total down payment accumulation of $54,000, and that is happening through this monthly payment, and it's not far off of what you would be paying to the banks. So when all is said and done, this is probably not far, this is actually lower rent because you're putting more money back in your pocket. And then the other main difference is the cash to close. At the end of the process, if you were going through the bank route, be prepared that you're going to need about $36,175 because there's going to be closing costs. Fatma walked through that. With our program, you don't have to worry about closing costs at the beginning. When you're in the program, you will have enough time to build up more savings so that you'll have plenty of cash for the cash you'll need to close. But at the beginning, you only need $27,275. So if you have scraped together at least that amount, you can start getting into home ownership right away. And behind the scenes, we have a family that's trying to help you get into this process. And that family is actually coming in with $114,900 of their own money to help you secure this property. So we're essentially matching families that want to help other families get into home ownership through our assisted purchase program. The monthly rent is technically lower than a mortgage would be. And when you factor in the monthly down payment credit that you're getting, you're actually not far off of what the total mortgage payment would be. So if this is what you're spending every month, then let's see if we can help you. You know, what we're dealing with right now, the RBC Economic Report kind of forecasted it back in March when we were kind of just in the early stages of COVID. And they said this is a very tough but temporary blow to Canada's housing market. And we expect property values to fall briefly, which is accurate, because surging unemployment and, of course, market illiquidity will compel a growing number of tight squeezed sellers to make price concessions. That's absolutely true, but that's going to be very, very temporary. And again, if we're dealing in price points of $350 to $520, there's so much demand in that price point that the concessions are probably not going to be as strong as the concessions that people in the $900,000 or $800,000 are going to make. But ultimately, you have to be able to afford it. So for our program and for a bank, you're going to need to take into account what is your household income. Your affordability is driven by your household income, and that takes into account your employment income, child benefits, Ontario disability credits, there's a whole bunch of things, spousal support, there's a whole bunch of things that can make up your household income. And that's something that we'll be able to dive into a little bit deeper with you to see just how much of borrowing capacity you have and what kind of budget you can afford. And then the other part of the qualifying criteria is having some down payment funds. So anywhere from $15,000 to $40,000 is the average what home buyers have saved. And that's not enough for them to be able to qualify for financing with a bank, because they might have some tarnished credit, or they might have credit that's not quite established yet. And this amount is just not enough. The banks want higher down payment. But if this is all you have today, you don't have to continue renting. You can put that money to work and start building up your own equity through our assisted purchase program. So if you need help putting all the pieces together, we are here to support you. I encourage you to book a call with Fatma. She can walk you through how to come up with your house hunting budget, and she can actually share some videos with you to explain this process in more detail.